Hi friends, hope you are doing well. I'm Dr. Ganguly. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to discuss what is Stoic philosophy and how PhD essentially makes you a Stoic person. So essentially Stoicism is a branch of philosophy which deals with a certain way of living which is very much in tune with the PhD student and what a PhD prepares you to become. So sometime if you have wondered why your degree is called the Doctor of Philosophy, one of the reasons could be that they are essentially training you how to be a Stoic. So whatever your PhD field may be, it may be science, engineering, humanities, social sciences. The fact is that you are becoming much more Stoic than you were when you entered the university as a PhD student. So I'll divide this video into 8 parts and then you can figure out if you are on the way to becoming a Stoic personality. So the number one issue is what is essentially the definition of Stoicism. And essentially what this means is that you are able to endure pain without complaining. So this is essentially the word Stoic, what it means. And you will understand that after some time into the PhD program, you have to suffer a lot of pain. For example, the reviews of the various papers you submit, the admonitions from your PhD supervisor and from senior students and referees in many cases, the various comprehensive exams you have to give, at the end of which you are probably told that you need to do better and so on. So essentially what happens is that through all this pain you improve as a person. So there is an entire philosophy of no pain no gain which is prevalent in, for example, weight training and bodybuilding. Nowadays people say all pain all gain, and it's also tied to Nietzsche's theory that what does not kill you makes you stronger. So whatever pressure you are subjected to the PhD life, it's essentially something which helps you become a more Stoic person. Now the number 2 part of Stoic philosophy is that you can't change things, but you can change. So essentially what this tells you is that what is in your control is yourself as a person. So various things are going to be there in your lab, in your workplace, which are not going to be possible to change. For example, your supervisor, your lab mates, the quality of your lab, the equipment which you have, the computers which you have, the library which you have, the institution, the department chair, and so on. So the only thing which you can do is to adjust yourself so that you can fit into the system and you can do much better within the constraints imposed on you by the system. So it's going to be pretty much useless if you keep complaining that your lab is not so good, that your advisor is not so good, and so on. There are very few people who actually get along too well with their PhD supervisor. So these are something to keep in mind, that at the end of the day you need to realize that the only change you can do is to yourself. You cannot change your salary, you cannot change your friends, you cannot change your lab, and so on. Now the number 3 aspects is that you should try to have as few possessions as possible, and partly the lifestyle of a PhD student is such that they do not get much money, their stipend is less, so they do not have too many possessions. Also, it should be easy for you to go to conferences and to even embark on a foreign trip every now and then. So you may decide after your PhD program to do a postdoc in some foreign country. So have as few possessions as possible so that all your stuff fits into couple of suitcases and then you can dispose of the remaining stuff. So as far as possible, be a minimalistic person. Minimalism is nothing but an offshoot of Stoicism which has come out in the recent years. Now the number 4 fact is going to be that you need to live in solitude and silence, and you need to minimize the number of friends and people you know, because again what will happen is that as a PhD person you may be forced to work independently in research. Your topic may be such that none of your lab mates is interested in your research problem, and so you will have to lead a very isolated life. Now some people feel bad about this, but there are those who flourish in solitude, and so if you are able to do that, you are essentially becoming a Stoic person. So this is something very important to cultivate during your PhD. If you do not have too many social contacts, too many friends who are in the real world. You can have them in the virtual world. Then you are highly mobile. It is very easy for you to travel internationally for postdocs, faculty positions, as the case may be. Now, the number 5th point is the importance of truth and virtue. Now, anybody who is doing a PhD knows that whatever they write in papers, whatever research they do, it's very important to be truthful about things. It's very important not to plagiarize and so on, because the entire bedrock of scholarship rests on the fact that you are being truthful. So if somebody is not truthful, then what will happen is that they will certainly not enjoy any of the process of doing PhD, writing papers and so on, and this is going to be a pretty shallow and mundane perspective in their life, because most of the fun which comes out of being a PhD or a scholar is when you make some interesting discovery. Maybe you prove some established theory to be wrong, or you build on some theory and show some experimental work which enhances the theory. So the contribution you make to any literature is the main contribution in the PhD, and so contribution to truth is a very important virtue. You should not practice any plagiarism, should not go into cheating and so on. So there should be truth in the work, truth in the publications, truth in whatever you say to your PhD supervisor. So these are all traits which are coming out of the Stoic philosophy. Now the next point is, it's more important to practice rather than preach, and this is something which is widespread in the scholarly domain. When you are at a coffee shop talking with your colleagues, you can discuss whatever you want, but when you write a paper, when you write a thesis, you have to be very truthful and you have to practice whatever you have been doing. So essentially you are judged by the written word, you are not judged by casual conversations and so on. So essentially at the end of the PhD, you have a body of work, you have publications, you have a thesis, and your work is essentially judged by your thesis. So that is the main production here. All the chatting you have done, all the relationships you have built up with your teammates and supervisor are not going to be of any great importance once you move beyond this particular lab, because as far as the PhD is concerned, it is totally dependent on what you have done and independent research and the thesis you have written. That is your demonstrated expertise. Now, number 7th point is resilience, and one of the main things about Stoic philosophy is that you have to be resilient. That means you have to be able to come back from a downturn. So you should be somewhat like rubber or some material like that. So essentially during the PhD, you are going to encounter many downturns. You're probably going to do badly in your courses, in your comprehensive exam, in the papers you submit. They are all going to have harsh reviews. That is the notorious reviewer 2 who is going to trash your paper. You may have to send it to a different journal. Your supervisor will generally give you negative remarks and so on. And you have to take these all pretty casually, and you have to make whatever changes are necessary and then go back to the system again and again. So resilience is very important quality, and this is something which any scholar needs to have, and the PhD essentially makes you a Stoic person who is highly resilient to any perturbation on their system. Now the final point is detachment, and again detachment is a very important quality in a PhD student. They should be completely detached or detached as far as humanly possible from the ongoing situations and the various perturbations which they face. Now, one of the ways you cultivate resilience is by actually being detached. So whether your paper gets a rave review or it gets badly trashed, your reaction should not be very strong to these things. You should take all these in stride. So do not become very elated or happy just because you got a very good review, and neither should you become very sad or depressed if you got a very bad review. Just remember that this is a part of the game, just like in any game. Sometime you lose, sometime you win. Similarly, as far as research and PhD is concerned, there will be victories and losses, more losses than victories, and it does not really affect you as a person. So one of the things here is to separate your personal soul or your personal body from the work you do. So your persona should not be too much tied to whatever is happening around the world as such. So you should see yourself as a person who is taking part in a drama or a play, and therefore he is just going through the different motions and it's not impacting his soul in any significant way. So this quality of detachment is also something which will make you a Stoic person. So essentially there is a very common line between the philosophies of the Stoics and the PhD degree. So I would say if there is any philosophy in the doctorate, it is essentially the Stoic philosophy. I hope you benefit from this video, and I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.